Mark Williams and Bryan Goebel. Mark, as you know, is a 6-time champion, twice winning the Tournament of Champions. In fact, his last win was 1988. Hard to believe.
Well, once again, we see Mark Williams drifting high on the left-hand lane. That's been the pattern for years in this bowling center, the left-hand lane, hooking more. Very simply, reason is that these are synthetic lanes laid down over the wood lanes, and the old wood lanes had a characteristic of hooking more, and it comes right through the synthetics.
So marking comfortably with that spare, and we get our first look today of Bryan Goebel. Winner in Tucson this year for the 3rd time in that city. Sneaking up to the line. So let's see what he'll do with the 2-4-8-10, Bo.
Wow, tough split.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Williams, by the way, is the only man to ever make this split in television. He made it back in Baltimore years ago.
So Bryan gets a terrible baptism in his first game of the day.
Now you take a look at this fellow's style. He's going to drift all the way over here from there. He's going to play a shot around the first arrow, drift left, right, and then throw the hook back. Very deliberate.
No, that's unfair. That shouldn't happen, Bo, to any professional.
You're right, Chris. He was kind of lined up on the right-hand lane, thinking it's going to hook as much as the left, and then he gets a real bad rake here in the second frame. The swish in 7-10. That's just lack of ball speed. You need a little more speed to make those pins pop out of it.
Cool Bryan Goebel. Shawnee, Kansas has to exhale on that. 2 horrible back-to-back splits. And
well, the scores were marginal all week, Chris, and the reason being is that oil would carry down and leave splits like this. Here he has the 2-10, need to get the ball on the left-hand side of the 2-pin, drive it into the 10. We saw the opposite for a left-hander as Parker Bone had the 3-7 in his first match.
So now it's a spare and an open frame for Mark Williams, who won the first game 216 to 194 over Parker Bone. And he goes back to that left lane as C.K. Moore and Dennis Horan warm up off to our right. That's the pinfall that you're hearing. First strike of this match, 3rd frame for Mark. Using about 2/3 of the approach. Very deliberate start. And now a 2 and sleeper 8.
His body reflects his mind right there. He's a bit confused. He changed balls here in the second frame. He needs to hit this 2-pin dead on, let the ball carry back into the 8. He has had no easy task here in the first 3 frames. 2 tough splits and now a tough spare.
Oh, chopping the 2 off the 8. I can see his wife Kelly, who's a computer programming for AT&T back in Shawnee.
Wow, she's computing in some strikes or at least some spares here. Is a disastrous start for Bryan Goebel.
Go ahead and say it. Hallelujah. Second match underway.
When I was just
Second match here in the Greater Hartford Open. Fabulous bowler Bryan Goebel has 3 open frames, then came back. You saw it before we left with a strike. Oh, unusual.
You're right, Chris, and a little bit the lanes are going through a transition. The oil is carrying down. The ball will draw the oil down the lane as Mark Williams is waiting for a little disturbance on his left. The fan has to get seated as they're down the lanes before he gets started. Right now he leads by 20 pins despite it open, can make it 30.
All right, now the king of the karaoke when he's not bowling, Randy Peterson.
Thanks, Chris. I'm here with the 38-year-old rookie. CK, you know, I'm watching the match in progress, and there's a lot of X's and O's. Looks a little more like tic-tac-toe than bowling. Does this change your strategy at all? I mean, are you a little more careful, try to keep the ball in play a little bit more? The scores are obviously real low.
Well, I don't know if it changes my strategy. The whole idea is just to try to be aggressive, throw as best shots as I can, and hopefully the pins will fall. You don't necessarily bowl against them. You just try to bowl against the game, and hopefully good things happen.
Well, best of luck, CK.
Thanks, Randy.
All right, and you'll get to practice that theory very soon.
He'll be coming up in the semifinal. Never has tasted a loss. CK Moore. Now, Bryan Goebel. Can he get it back together?
I know how he feels, having been there.
Well, Chris, but you have a 170 average.
Oh,
you can
yeah,
afford
sure,
those.
sure. I don't care what average. It's makes you feel sort of tiny.
Uneasy.
Yeah. And we can chuckle because we know this guy and love him. But goodness. 55 through the fifth.
Let's look on the bright side. He's got a great strike ball. If he strikes out, he can
Okay.
shoot 205, and he would make a match of it.
And the 8 times champion leaves the 10 pin.
Well, we can study his style a little bit as he shoots the 10-pin. He probably takes as an extreme of angle as anybody in professional bowling for the 10-pin. Watch how far left he goes and how much of the left side of the lane he bites off. Almost in the left channel, cross lane, good technique.
Joe comes up with his second mark of the game in the 6th frame. Mark Williams has a double working. He's shooting in the 6th frame. And now it's a 4-7 for Mark.
We call it the fast 8 in professional bowling. It looks like an apparent good hit. The ball is breaking a little too sharply. The 2 just leaps over the top of the 4 and 7 pins.
Now, native of California, Randy Peterson.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Parker, in your match, it looked like you were going to shoot 250. All of a sudden, you have thumb hole trouble. You put a piece of tape in. Then you leave the solid.